Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Lore Sports proudly brings to you the best racing podcast in the world. Now, here's your host, Lauren Leach, the color guy, Mark Allen, the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast, sponsored by the Corp Racing and Valley Gasket. Thank you to Tim with the Corp Racing and Ben and Kerry with Valley Gasket. As always, it means the world to us, lets us do so much more. So thank you as always. Mark, episode 158. How are you doing, man?
Keep chugging along, man. Trying to survive this so-called storm called Daisy, I guess, whatever. Hey, man. Hey, I got to ask you a question. As I see the cars roll down, you get down to the number one. That's an old Dick Gentleman car. Where did you get that picture?
I forget where I got that from, but Gene Wheeler, obviously my great uncle, was in that car and raced the one. You know, he actually raced the 25 quite a bit, but yeah, I found that picture that we have and put it on. Every picture is one that I took personally in that intro video, except for that one that we had. Yeah, it's pretty cool to include both my uncle to start at the 25 mark for counting down 25 seconds and then ending with my great uncle there.
But that one car, yeah, that's an old Dick Gentleman car, man. He was the most aggressive dude out at Apple Creek back then. And I think our fans from way back then would remember him, man. He drove like Dale Earnhardt. That's the way he drove out there, man. Get right on you, move you nicely, and was the most aggressive driver out there. So impressive picture I see on the laydown there.
Yeah, it was a lot of work putting together that intro video. I think we talked about it on last week's episode just a little bit, but I had a lot of fun doing it too. It took a few hours putting together the music that I had to find, put it together, the pictures that I had, and putting together the time and all, then finding an app to allow me to do that. And it was a lot of fun to put together, but a lot of work. But when you watch that intro video, it makes me smile.
Yeah. So good stuff, man. You're doing good work. Keep it up.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate the kind words. Appreciate what you're doing for me personally, for our brand here. You're a big part of it, and appreciate you as well, man.
It's all right, man. I ain't doing nothing until April 11th, so I'm just hanging out, man, waiting to go racing. So, yes. Who's counting, though? But April 11th is right around the corner.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait here, and that'll be here before you know it. We're already almost a week into March, so it's going quick.
Yeah, 3 weeks in NASCAR are gone already, man. Just like that, boom. So,
unbelievable.
Yep, enjoy it, man. It goes fast.
It sure does. Well, man, we got another great one here for you. We're gonna have Ty Majeski come on here shortly. Of course, the defending champion for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series here. So excited to have him on. He's had a busy start to his season, so glad that he was able to make some time for us here a couple weeks into the season and talk about what's going on with him. And then we'll do our normal stuff. We're going to talk about news. There's a lot of news that broke today. Yesterday there was a bunch of news as well, but there was bigger news today with a couple of appeals going on, a couple of penalties that were announced. So a lot of things going on there. And then we'll talk about some more racing and the weeks going ahead here.
Sounds good, man. Keep the people riveted right to the end with the breaking news. Yeah, big news, man. So, all right, let's go talk to the chat. We're going to the hotline, aren't we?
We're going to the hotline. Man. Let's do it. All right, Ty, thanks for coming on here, man. It's been a good start to your season so far. What's new with you?
Yeah, like you said, good start to the year. I can't complain. I'm not really a super speedway guy, although I feel like I took quite a few leaps forward at Daytona this year. Got a lot more comfortable in the draft. We destroyed our normal speedway truck at Talladega last fall, and built a brand new one for Daytona, and it was still had the same speed but had a ton more drivability. So I think some of those apprehensions that I had over the course of the last couple of years on the super speedways was probably a little bit the truck. now that we've got a new one and a fresh body on it. I just felt so much more comfortable making moves that I otherwise, wouldn't have been comfortable with last couple of years. So that was really encouraging. And then Atlanta had a solid finish. So overall, if you'd have told me I'd come out, second in points, one back after 2 speedway races, I'd take it all day long. So I felt like we were in probably positions to maybe finish a little bit better at Atlanta, but overall with 2 wild cards and a pair of top 10 finishes, I'll take it.
Hey, but it looks like everybody at Thor has actually found some speed, huh?
Yeah, I mean, these first 2 races are certainly anomalies. So we feel good about where we're at, but I think the jury's definitely still out on that, just because it's, they're really not real speed, I guess, measuring races. It's, situational and how you place your truck and how they drive in traffic and, picking the right lanes. There's just, there's a little bit that takes into account at Atlanta as far as speed goes, but we're really going to know where we're at here these next 3 weeks at Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville.
Yeah, I always think about that too with the new schedule there. It's so hard. The first, even if you talk about outside of the Truck Series, Cup, and Xfinity, 3 wild cards really to start the season with Daytona, Atlanta, and then Coda for them. But you have to run 2 of the 3 as well. So to start the season that well and something that's you're not comfortable with. Are you feeling like you are getting to a point where you're more comfortable with the speedway racing? We kind of talked to Luke about it. I just feel like coming from the short track, that's got to be the toughest discipline to try to react to and learn how to become comfortable with, because there's nothing that you can even practice to feel that.
Yeah, it's just different. It's a whole different discipline, and I don't know if there's really much else you can do to really prepare for it. Honestly, the best preparation is probably running like C fixed on iRacing, honestly, just because you don't really have anything like that you can run in real life. Like, there's no real speedway races. You can't take a super late model to a speedway, or I mean, other than, obviously the road course racing, but I don't know that Daytona and Talladega even like run races other than NASCAR stuff. I'm pretty sure that they don't. So yeah, not a lot of practice possibilities. So it's a matter of going out there and doing it and just getting comfortable with doing it. I feel like you want to put yourself in a good spot and not get wrecked, but I feel like I've gotten myself in worse positions trying to play safe. So went in with the mindset of being a bit more aggressive at Daytona, was in position, to win the second stage, decided to stay in line with my teammates, and Johnny and I had a lot of momentum coming to the white, or on the white flag lap on the backstretch. If my initial push to him, my connection was a little bit cleaner on the backstretch there. We had a head of steam going into turn 3, and we were going to be in pretty good shape if we could have cleared that bottom line to hang Parker out and race it out between the 2 of us. So fortunately, obviously the yellow came out. We all started wrecking before we got to see that through, but I feel like we were in a really good spot to be in position to have a shot at making a move for the win at the end. So that's really all you can ask for at a super speedway, just having a shot to win at the end. And sometimes you make the right moves and sometimes you don't. And I wish we would have got to see it through. But happy to come out of there with the top 5 and follow that up with a good top 10 at Atlanta.
You mentioned you had Johnny Sauter as a teammate at Daytona, then Luke Fenhaus at Atlanta. How much does that help having a teammate that you're familiar with at those tracks where you're going to need some help? Obviously, you're pretty close with the other teammates as well, but these guys for a long time racing up here.
Well, Johnny specifically is probably one of the best truck speedway racers to ever do it. So just to have him there, really one of my strategies before the race was really just to get with Johnny and, learn from him and follow him, because, there's moves that you can make that are bad. Just because you have a run doesn't necessarily mean you take it. And just learning, when he decided to take those runs and make moves with them, and when he decided to take the runs and just to stay in line. just understanding, the situational awareness of speedway racing is, you gotta really understand what's going on around you and behind you, and your spotter is a big part of that. Brandon and I are getting better. I think as I gain more aggression, he's able to spot with more aggressiveness, and we trust each other more. So there's a lot that goes into speedway racing, and having Johnny to lean on there and learn from was very good for my progression and that discipline.
Hey, going over to the Atlanta race, you guys stayed out on the first stage and unfortunately ran out of fuel after the second stage there, and it cost you a lap. Was that already planned, or was that made at the stage, or were you saving fuel in the first stage of that race?
Yeah, so we were under the assumption that it was going to be close. We thought we were going to need one caution somewhere on that. So obviously the stage break caution, we knew we were getting that, and we needed one more caution on top of that to really feel good about making it. We decided to stay out. I was definitely influenced that decision. I don't know that we had two stages in the history of Atlanta since it's been repaved. I don't think we've had two stages that have gone green. So played the odds a little bit. I was saving fuel from rolling off a pit road, after the national anthem, doing the pace laps. Like, I was saving fuel. So I thought maybe, with where I was at in the pack, you can save a lot of fuel at Atlanta just because the runs are so big. So I was just trying to stay off the throttle as much as I could and still formulate runs and stay in line, obviously. And Kyle got the lead from me in that second stage, and I was saving what I felt like was a lot of fuel behind him. It turned out to be like 2 laps of fuel versus what the 11 saved, and I'm sure he was saving as well. And I was able to save 2 more laps than him. He unfortunately, he ruined his race staying out like that. He went 3 or 4 laps down, and it's hard to recover from that in the short truck races. So I was thankful I was able to save enough fuel to, first of all, get the stage points and only go 1 lap down. We would have been able to stay on the lead lap, but we couldn't get the engine refired. Obviously, lost fuel there and didn't have it in the system, and had to get it pumped back to the injectors, and it took a little bit to do that. So we ended up losing the lap, but thankfully got the lucky dog and got our way back into the race and salvage a decent finish out of it.
Is that something that gets relayed to you, that someone on the same strategy as you ran out? Does that get relayed to you at all?
Well, I knew it. He was right in my mirror, and I saw him run out. And when he fell back, I knew he ran out. But at that point, with 2 to go, it is what it is. You're not going to save much fuel in 2 laps. You pretty much got what you got. So you just kind of hope you saved enough and that you can make it. But yeah, it actually sputtered coming off of turn 4. I thought I was going to maybe formulate a run at Kyle, and with the 11, running out of fuel, creating that gap in between myself and McDowell, who was in 3rd place at the time. We just didn't have enough energy to formulate a run, or get that energy back high enough to formulate a run in just a half of a lap or a lap and a half or so. Coming off of 4, it started to stumble. I was just happy to at least get the stage points. It would have hurt a lot worse if we wouldn't have gotten those.
Yeah, Mark and I were talking about this yesterday, I believe it was, about how crucial, we all know this, how crucial stage points are, but there can be someone who finishes 5th with no stage points, and you can finish like 14th and do well in both the stages and have more points than that person. And I know we all know that, but when you really dive down into it, finishing off that second stage could be a big difference in your season.
Yeah, stage points are a big deal. Especially when you're, trying to go for the regular season championship. That's 15 points. So that's 3 wins worth of bonus points by winning that. So that's a big deal in trying to make it to Phoenix. So that's our goal. I think, those goals can change. Like last year, we, obviously start off wanting to win the regular season championship. And when we decided that it was probably a little bit unrealistic to get there, we started to manage our races a little bit different and try to, capture maybe stage wins, or go after a win versus, trying to just get stage points. yeah, like I said, the goalposts can change, and just got to be mindful of where you're at in points and try to make the best decision you can, and collect the most points you can.
So now that that's over with Super Speedway, we go to Las Vegas, right? And what do you feel about that? How's the outlook going for that place, man?
Yeah, Vegas is a high-speed mile and a half, a lot of on throttle time. Looking forward to it. Had a great truck there last year. Felt like we probably should have won that race. Ended up speeding on pit road. I think I won the first two stages and was in pretty good position on the green flag cycle. And sped on pit road. Wheel hopped a little bit from. I had it wowed down enough. I just missed my my RPM match on my blip from second to first gear, and wheel hopped a little bit, and sped on pit road. So that one still stings to this day. So hopefully we can have a similar handling truck with similar speed, and we should be in contention. So excited to go there. Homestead following, and then Martinsville after that. So a lot of really, really good tracks for us.
Yeah, a couple of good tracks coming up for you. I know you're off this weekend, but the Cup and Xfinity are over in Phoenix, obviously in an important track that's where you won the championship last year, championship race again this year. Do you find yourself tuning in and taking any kind of notes from the series that are there that can potentially help you when you go there later on this year?
Yeah, I always pay attention. You never know what you can learn, and different strategies and different type. A lot of times the championship race turns into some type of a split strategy. Thankfully, we had the dominant truck this year, and it didn't turn into that, which was good. When you're a good truck, you just want a straight up race. But sometimes when you aren't the best truck, you need something to mix it up a little bit. So just understanding, what different strategies do and how they yield different results at different times of the race is important to pay attention to. So yeah, and I'd watch it anyways. I just enjoy watching racing, and have people that I've raced with before in different levels, whether it be ARCA or Xfinity or even Cup. So always try and tune in, and you never know what you can learn.
Had a couple of weeks off here. What have you been doing during the couple of weeks off before you go to Las Vegas in a week and a half?
Yeah, I was up at the shop last week, really trying to vet through some setup stuff and prepare for simulator this week. So yeah, even though you got the weeks off, trying to stay busy, it's always a grind, man. You got to be prepared coming up for this stretch. I think when we start this next stretch of races, we go 13 to 16 weeks from now until June 1st. So, or June 7th, I think. So it's a grind for us. It's an intense part of the schedule. So just trying to stay ahead, make sure trucks are prepared, make sure we're prepared from a setup standpoint. So when the trucks do get ready to be set up, we have a setup ready to go in them, and something that we feel confident about.
Hey, man, through the years, us Wisconsin fans have always noticed that, you finish second or third like this and you don't get an interview and they don't talk to you. Have you noticed the attraction and more time that the people are looking at you?
Yeah, I guess that comes with winning a championship. So I guess it's a good thing just to give them no choice but to have to interview you. So I think probably flown under the radar a little bit over the course of the last couple of years, and I don't mind it. I like to mind my own business and focus on making the trucks go fast and focusing on getting better myself. So obviously comes with the territory of being in this position to have media obligations and whatever, and I'm totally good with it. But flying under the radar isn't such a bad thing either. So I feel like we surprised some people last year at Phoenix, but we were as confident as ever. I feel I wouldn't bet against Joe and I at a flat short track. So we feel good about our chances if we're lucky enough to make it back there again. So just chip away at it. I think really the goal for this season is to get rid of some of those valleys that we had, get rid of some of those DNFs that we've just had some of those over Joe and I's career, whether it be a couple mechanical issues or getting caught up in an early incident. It's hard to leave the racetrack with just 1 or 2 points. You just can't do that and expect to win the regular season championship. So the goal this year is to just create more consistency And if we create more consistency, we're going to be in contention to win more races. And when you're in contention to win more races, you're going to win more. So, yeah, I feel good about where the team's at. Pretty much all aspects of my team stayed the same. We just lost our tire guy, and we have a pretty good replacement that's doing a great job. So, yeah, I feel good about the outlook for our season. I feel like our trucks are in really good shape. We've been probably as ahead as we've ever been. And, yeah, when you can be ahead like that and you're not behind scrambling just to get to the racetrack is a good thing.
That was kind of a good segue for what I wanted to bring up, and maybe I should have started with this, but what was that like walking into Daytona this year and knowing that you're the defending champion, you have that patch on your suit there? Did it just feel different to you this year? What was the feeling walking into Daytona?
I don't know. You know, I try not to get caught up in that. I'm kind of, I'm an analytics guy by the numbers. So like when it's a new season, it's business as usual. Um, you know, yeah, you don't try and let that get to you. You just do your job as you know how to do it. That's how I feel like I've approached my entire career, and try and stay grounded and understand that if anything, we have to up our game from last year because people are going to try and beat the champion. So yeah, just trying to go through different setups and understand where we could have been better last year, and try and understand what our weaknesses were, and try and get rid of some of those weaknesses. And I feel like we know where some of those tracks are at, and we're putting a pretty good effort on some of those places to try and get better. And like I said, get rid of some of those valleys. So yeah, Joe and I are on the same page. We're working good together as usual, and yeah, ready to go to battle together again.
Has your role changed as a teammate at all over the last couple years, or since even winning the championship? We had Luke on last week. I know I mentioned that a few times, but he said that he actually leans on you quite a bit to ask those questions as an up-and-comer. Has your role changed with ThorSport a little bit, where you're leaned on more by some of the teammates or younger drivers coming in?
Well, I think, last year, obviously winning the championship was great for the 98 team. And we feel good about our performance, but I think there was, for some reason, there was a bit of a gap between us and the other teams. So a big focus of the off season was to, start working together more closely. And if the rest of the team is better, that's going to make all of us better. So just, I think sharing different information with different people. I know specifically in the simulator, Ben and I talk weekly now, whereas not that we didn't talk before, but we have specific calls based on simulation and getting our sim better and tuning tires, and just working more closely with the way Toyota worked and with the way their infrastructure was. It forced us to work together much more closely. And I think since we made the switch to Ford, like I said, just with the way some of their systems work, you can operate a little bit more on your own. And I think we've gotten away from working as much together. And I think the last time I felt all 4 or 5 teams were really running well was back when we were with Toyota. So we've made, I feel like, some internal changes, whether that be, driver and crew chiefs, switch ups, and done different things. And I know us drivers have certainly, worked together more closely on the sim side of stuff. And I feel it's brought us, back closer as an entire organization, which is good. It's going to make us all better when we're all flowing, different opinions and different ideas of information with one another. It's going to make us all better. So I like where the team's at. I feel like I said, this is as closely as we've worked, I feel like, together since 2022. And yeah, it's the results, I feel like, have shown that. I feel like we've all worked together really well these first couple races. We saw different examples of that at Daytona, sticking together, and Atlanta as well. So historically, that's not always been how ThorSport is operated. So to have a tighter knit bunch seemingly so far this year, I think is going to be a good thing.
But the challenge is that every driver's different, isn't it? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And, you're always going to put your own twist on things, like whether, the 99 or, the 13 or the 88 or the 66, whether they have my setup, they're always going to put their twist on it, relative to whoever's driving it. So I know specifically for the 98 team, we do the same thing. If we're running a setup that, somebody else ran last year, we're going to try and put our twist on it and make it that much better. So, yeah, there's always, a little bit of, they don't fully overlap. You can't just copy and paste somebody's package and expect to go and have the same results. So, yeah, just being mindful of that, understanding, different drivers' strengths and weaknesses and what I like versus what some of the other drivers like. As long as we can, understand those differences and make those appropriate changes within the packages, I think it's still very valuable.
I want to go back a second here to something that you alluded to that I thought of at the time while you were saying it. Hard to, winning a championship, not thinking about it and all that. Someone that you have a relationship with, Mark Martin, I've heard him say countless times where he wishes that he allowed himself to enjoy it more in the moment and all that. And when he win right after he exit victory lane, it was basically on to the next week. Are you more like that, or do you let yourself celebrate a little bit, or how hard is that balance?
Yeah, it's difficult. Obviously growing up, you always dream of becoming a NASCAR champion, and it's surreal that it actually happened. Or to even have the opportunity, even in 2022 to have a shot at it in Phoenix was special, and then to finally close it off, it's very rewarding. There's been a lot of times, you guys have seen my career from really beginning to end, so you guys know what it took to get here, and I think for me that's what made it so much more rewarding. Is there's not only for myself but for everybody around me that is stuck with me and helped me through different not so good times in my career, and whether that be Brad, Nancy Manstead, my wife, Chad Bryant, right? The list goes on and on. My family, everybody that's stuck with me through the tough times. That it's very rewarding to repay their sacrifices with one of the ultimate prizes that you can achieve in the sport, and to have finally done that feels really good. So definitely soak that in. Honestly, right after the championship in Phoenix, I was more worried about the speech. I mean, I lost way more sleep over worrying about doing the speech at the NASCAR banquet than I did leading up to Phoenix. So, yeah, it was definitely really special overall. So yeah, hopefully we can start stacking these things. I feel like Joe and I have just gotten started. I feel like I have a long time left in the position that I'm in, I hope, and I think Joe and I have a lot to accomplish yet together.
You're still very passionate about short track racing. I know Chase Motorsports just put out a couple of press releases and their schedule. You're back with them for a few races here. What does your short track schedule look like coming back when this thing gets started up here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, pretty similar to years past. There's some races just with the way the schedule lays out this year that I'm not going to be able to get to. But yeah, it's just going to be the bigger Midwest races. We're going to try and run the red, white, and blue. I can't make the blue race. But there's other races that we want to hit for sure. So, yeah, obviously Dixieland, Oktoberfest, Slinger Nationals. We're going to run the 2 ASA shows at Madison and Slinger, the Joe Shear Classic, the bigger ones in the Midwest. Might throw in, a few of the more regional Midwest Tour races in there as well, as schedule permits. Talking about going to the Oxford 250, not for sure yet. It's been on my radar for a long time. Finally, we're able to do it. Kind of the stars have aligned with with the way we're building our cars, and they're much more suited for the rules packages up there. So that's in the cards. Would love to go up there for the July 2nd race. It's 40 grand to win, as a, little bit of a test session for the 250. I think it's the second to last weekend in August. Usually it's like August 25th ish. I think it is this year. So might go back to Berlin. We talked about doing those races again. Just with the way the schedule lays out, there's some of the Midwest races like the Sauter race at the Dells that I won't be able to run. Some other big ones that my schedule doesn't allow me to run this year. So we're going to fill that in with maybe some of those races.
Hey man, this last couple of days on social media, we've seen that you celebrated with Road Ranger. We like supporting that down south here. So how did that all go? It was kind of bittersweet, and it looked like it was a good celebration down there.
Yeah, it's very appreciative of their support over the last few years. For them entering the sport and myself, entering my first full-time season at ThorSport. We were able to kind of grow together, and they were able to kind of be with me from the beginning of my full-time ThorSport career, and won our first race together, and we've done a lot of firsts together. So it's cool to look back on, and unfortunate that we couldn't keep the relationship moving forward. We tried really hard on our end to make it all work. I felt like just we did everything we could to keep them around, and we just couldn't quite come to a full agreement on both sides to make it work. So wish them the best. I grew pretty close to some of the employees there, and those are obviously personal relationships, and unfortunately this is a business, and sometimes the business takes priority, and we all understand that as people in the sport. And there's going to be relationships or business relationships that have to end, and it's unfortunate it did, but obviously have a great partner in SodaSense. They're doing a lot this season for Luke and I, which is really cool of them, being out of Seymour, Wisconsin, which is where I grew up, and having them on board all season for 23 of the 25 races for myself is really cool. So excited to have them aboard, and excited to keep building that relationship in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say that shows how tough the business side is, and you alluded to it. You have personal relationships that now, may not be as close moving forward, or maybe you have to work a little extra to keep them as close. It shows how tough that business side is. But you just mentioned SodaSense. Extra cool that it's a Wisconsin company, a company from where you grow up. Having that on the truck has got to be extra special.
Yeah, and those guys they're just great guys. Mike, Rob, all the folks at SodaSense. They're a fun group. We enjoy spending time together. They've supported us on the late model side as well, and of course the last this is year number 3 now, I think, on the truck side. So I've grown close with those guys, and it's real special to have a hometown sponsor like that support you, and so happy they want to spend their hard-earned marketing dollars on us, and see the return on investment, because there truly is an ROI. But like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. So it's up to myself and everybody involved to create that ROI for them, and make sure they're getting what they need to out of their partnership to keep moving forward with it, and to keep it making sense for them.
I want to go back to the short track scene here, maybe to end this thing with you. But, the big talk over the last year and a half, 2 years has been tires and rule packages and all that. We've been hearing some rumblings with some changes and all that. What have you heard, and is there anything that you think would help short track going forward to continue getting on the same page?
Yeah, it's getting a little bit messy right now with UARA and Ricky Brooks and ASA. Thankfully, not a lot of that should affect what happens here in the Midwest, it sounds like. So, the Midwest has always kind of been on their own path, or their own island, I should say. Not too far off, but but enough to where, the bickering between those two sanctioning bodies doesn't affect us. So that's a positive. The Midwest seems like we're going to kind of be on our own tire again. Sounds like we're going to be on the ST1 stars or the ST2 stars, and the ASA Stars Tour is going to be on the ST1 stars on the left and then the ST3 stars on the right. So a little bit different tire when you travel again, which was, not quite the intent when this whole ST series started. The intent was only to have the threes for high load racetracks like Nashville and Winchester, and that was really going to be the extent of where we ran those tires. And just with the way everything had progressed over the last 6 months or so, they just saw the ST3 just more consistency. So they decided to go that route with the snowball just to make it not Russian roulette in the tire barn, which was a good move. But so yeah, a little bit different tire compound, but really no different than it's been for 10, 15 years. For as long as I can remember, it's always been a different compound from, the Midwest to down south. So yeah, I kind of wish the national sanctioning bodies would, stop the bickering. I feel like it's probably gone a little bit too far with the different series not allowing certain seals, and I don't really get into it because I'm just not able to race a lot of them that much, but we all work together. That's the way the sport is going to be the healthiest. There's just not enough cars to go around for everybody to have their own island. There just isn't. So if they're each on their own island, it's going to hurt both of them. And if they can figure out a way to work together, it's going to help both of them. So don't really know where that's at. Don't really want to get in the middle of it either, but if there's any way I could help, I would be happy to do so. But yeah, for now it seems like an old-fashioned standoff on the national side. So, but thankfully, like I said before, shouldn't affect the Midwest too much, and hopefully the Midwest is healthy from a fan standpoint and a car count standpoint as it normally is.
All right, last thing from me here, Ty. Simple question. What are you looking forward to most over the next few weeks until we can get you back on here?
Well, I think really going to Vegas and Homestead and Martinsville and understanding where we're at. You put all this work into the off season, into updating your trucks and coming up with different ideas and different setups and different packages and different ideas to make your trucks faster. And the fun of it to me is going out on the racetrack and seeing it happen. So like I said before, Atlanta and Vegas are two big anomalies. Sometimes if you're good at those places, it can cloud your judgment of where you're at. So the big litmus test is going to be these next 3 weeks. 3 real different style racetracks. You have a high speed Vegas and then a lower speed, high tire fall off track in Homestead, and you go to the old short track at Martinsville. So we're really going to get an idea of where everybody's at, where we stack up against everyone. So excited to see where all the hard work stacks up, and excited to see where we're at.
All right, man. Well, hey, we always appreciate you and what you've done for us. You were a big part of our early part in growing to where we are today, so we appreciate you so much. It's been exciting to see you win that championship, obviously, but seeing how you're representing the sport and Ford and ThorSport and all your sponsors, it's been great to see that. So appreciate it, man. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, safe travel, man, and good luck in Vegas, man. We're cheering you on.
Thank you.
Well, Mark, it's always great to have Ty on. He was one of our first bigger guests that we've had on back when we started this thing, and really helped us out get going. So we always appreciate having him on. Defending champion of the Truck Series, having a great start to the season.
Yeah, I like the question that you asked him. Like, when you get to Daytona, you walk in, you're the man, you're the champion. But yeah, he takes it like, hey, this is a whole new season, a whole new challenge. So yeah, I guess that's the best way to look at it. After your racing days are over, then you can look back at this stuff, right? But while it's going on, man, it's a challenge.
Yeah, and you heard it in the interview just a little bit ago. I always think of Mark Martin when when I asked those questions or wondering how people feel, because he's like, I wish I would have enjoyed the win more, because it was like, okay, in victory lane, yep, and then right as soon as you exit victory lane, pretty much it's on to the next thing, and you don't really get to enjoy it. So I'm always curious how different drivers handle that, because everyone's a little different.
Yeah, but you don't have time to celebrate, man. It's all of a sudden pick up stakes, man. You're going to the next one, and it just keeps right on going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can't wait to see the Craftsman Truck Series and Ty back in action here in a week and a half at Las Vegas. So that'll be exciting to see them back on track.
Yep, for sure. He's gets around there really well. So we'll cheer on Thor Sport there next weekend.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some news now before we recap COTA and look ahead to Phoenix here. First, I wanted to say congratulations to Kat and Chase Randerson. They announced that Kat is pregnant on social media. They had a lot of trials and tribulations with that they mentioned in the post. So very thankful to hear that news and wishing them well here over the pregnancy.
Yeah, so congrats there, man. Love that whole team and families there. So yeah, congrats there.
There are a couple of good ones there for sure. Absolutely. Going into the short track portion here, Jade Avedizian was named the official winner of the Cars Tour Pro Late Model race at New River All-American Speedway. TJ DeCare, the race winner who finished first there initially, was disqualified for left side weight infraction in post-race tech.
Yeah, so the left weight got him, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been watching to see how many fans is watching on Flow Racing, and they got some events coming up. There's the second one after actually Earnhardt's going to run at, he calls it Cordial, and that's how he said that is the proper way to pronounce that. He said he was going to call Bubba Pollard up and see how he can get around that Georgia bull ring.
It's almost like Talladega is actually, I think, officially announced Talladega. So is it one of those situations?
Something like that down south. So yeah, he brought that up, and we've always heard Cordell all the time, but he said it's Cordial, but whatever, same racetrack.
Yeah. Connor Hall won the Cars Tour Late Model Stock season opener over Bobby McCarty down there as well.
And that's a Dale Earnhardt Jr. car right there. Yep.
It is, yes. Caden Honeycutt, who we've had on the podcast in the past, is launching a driver coaching program. His coaching services will be offered in the Cars Tour and on iRacing. I know we talked about that a little bit when we had him on. He's also a professional iRacer on there. So anyone looking to become a good driver and learn some things should reach out to Caden Honeycutt.
It's amazing, dude. So I thought you were a professional on there, dude.
I do have an ARCA championship, but that does not make me a professional.
Okay.
Humble brag there, I guess.
All right. So, but you can throw your hat in the ring, see if he'll help you. You do need a little more than me.
That's probably where you should have went with that. Hey, you should reach out to him because you could use some help. I would have went along with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving into some open wheel news then in F1, Chivas Regal, the Scotch whiskey brand that is a new sponsor of Ferrari, will hold a piano bar pop-up at the F1 opener in Australia as part of signing Charles Leclerc. The piano bar will be called Leclerc and have free drinks, music, and an appearance from Charles himself.
You ever see that when they do like a grid walk or whatever? I mean, it's high society, high class stuff there, man.
It is, yeah. And we'll talk about more here in a little bit. But F1 is also turning its F1 Las Vegas paddock into year-round attraction at that building, opening at the end of this month with $37 karting with a go-kart equipped with DRS, a $79 interactive experience that includes a pit wall challenge, and then $26.50 for simulator use and a merch store and cafe. So F1 trying to up their stuff and building and exposure here in the United States, especially in Las Vegas.
So they're trying to keep Las Vegas as an annual kind of deal. Wouldn't you like to see them at Austin? Wouldn't that be something? Yeah.
Yeah, they go there. That would be a cool track to see them at.
At the shorter track now. Yeah. zip around there like the Cup guys did this last weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also last thing for F1, the portion of open wheel before we get into some IndyCar news is the Drive to Survive series will be coming out this Friday, March 7th. Mark, I don't think you've seen this yet. It's one of my favorites. It's a behind the scenes and recap of the season that they kind of bounce around to the teams and go behind the scenes. It's out on Netflix. It has grown the F1 sport, especially in the United States, exponentially. It's been absolutely massive. I love it. I love all the behind the scenes stuff, though, like Hard Knocks for the NFL. I know NASCAR will have theirs coming out for the playoffs again. And then, this F1. It's an incredible series. So March 7th, that'll be coming back out.
Awesome. Yeah, you know how it is behind the scenes and hanging out in the pits and everything like that. That's the good stuff, man.
Yeah, and you get to see rivalries and what happened and what was all discussed. It's really cool. Moving into IndyCar, then Scott McLaughlin signed a multi-year extension with Penske. On the flip side, Will Power does not have a contract past this year after having 3 wins last year and being a champion. So Will Power kind of made some comments there saying that after 3 wins and in the history, he thought it would be easier to get a contract renewal. And it sounds like they're having some trouble there. So will Power be out after this year? We'll have to wait and see. But congratulations to Scott McLaughlin picking up that new contract.
Yeah, busy stuff going on behind the scenes, man. So that's the business end of it back there.
Yeah. Juncos Hollinger Racing landed a new sponsorship deal with Phillips 66 brand 76, the official fuel of NASCAR back in the day, and changed its number from 78 to 76. So it actually looked pretty cool. It brought back some memories. I know when we were doing our number thing, and I brought up, I got a number 76 for you that you're not thinking of, and I brought up the 76 brand from Phillips 66. So Juncos Hollinger Racing did land that new sponsorship with them.
Yep, it's usually an orange ball with blue letters. So yep, always sharp. It's an icon in the NASCAR sport and other racing sports. Yep.
Yeah, and it's such it's simple, and maybe that's why it's so great. It's orange with that blue. It's a really sharp logo.
And they have them out in California. I've seen some stuff that, some videos out from California, and there's some active 76 stations still out there. So nothing much around here, though.
Yeah. And then the IndyCar race got 1.4 million viewers, up 45% from last year. It's also the most watched non-Indy 500 race on any network since 2011. We'll talk a little bit about the race here coming up in a little bit.
Sure helps to be on the main network on Fox, though, dude, and they sandwiched it in between the NXT race, too, so like, just all you had to do is just turn TV on. You had racing on most of the day on Sunday.
And that's the full season on Fox, so that will be big for them.
Yeah, their next race is March 23rd in a couple weekends.
Transitioning into ARCA then, Trayton Lapsovich signs with Venturini Motorsports. His first race will be this weekend at Phoenix.
All right, so for the 150 on Friday night, so yeah, we can cheer him on. He's a Canadian, isn't he?
Yeah, and we got to see his brother race up here in that 16, excuse me. So Lapsovich, a good racing family, and they have a lot of talent there. So excited to see what he can do with Venturini.
Yeah, Caden was here for 1 year. We were hoping, being selfish, that he'd be around a lot more, but went off to other adventures. So.
Mm-hmm. Then the Craftsman Truck Series news. Only thing I got there is Kyle Larson will drive the Spire 07 truck at Homestead and Bristol. William Byron will be in it at Martinsville.
You're seeing a lot of these drivers coming down to the lower series, man, and especially with the Hendrick drivers. So some people say it's taking candy from the kids, but go ahead and try and beat them.
Hey, you can learn a lot of things. We talked to Luke last week, an up-and-coming driver racing against Kyle Busch, and he definitely learned some things there. So, hey, man, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So you can learn some things, and if you take it in stride like that, it can help your career.
Absolutely. So, yeah, but we're seeing a lot of the Hendrick guys going down to the lower series and doing that. Quite common nowadays.
Yeah. Nothing for the Xfinity series, but going into Cup, there's a decent amount of news here, which is why we'll probably reel back our recap of COTA. But NASCAR displayed the items that got the 34 for Front Row and the 51 for Rick Ware Racing a penalty at Daytona. It was kind of a creative thing. NASCAR officials found that lead weights were added to hydration packs and in various cord covers that were not secured in both vehicles. And it was stated from Brad Moran that they probably weren't planning on racing with this, but what they were doing is having this on for right side weight in the inspection. And the rule rates that ballast has to be secured in ballast containers there. So kind of getting creative. You've heard about that radio that was a weight one time and all of that. So now we're moving into hydration packs and various cord covers, excuse me.
Still trying, aren't they? It's still trying all this time because if you get caught, man, they pinch you pretty hard. So
how do you find something like that? How do you find something like that?
And how do you feel when they find it as you're standing there just like, but, always looking for that advantage, man, some way. But, boy, you sure don't want to get caught.
I got to say, kudos to NASCAR Tech for finding something like that. I mean, who would think to look in hydration packs or cord covers? That's creative.
Well, we were down in the pits, this last year in Milwaukee when we really got close to the technical side where they were looking at them, and you see how many people that are all over them vehicles. So, yes, it's probably maybe the team secretly can say, we've been doing this for a while, and then finally they caught it. But you never know. Still trying to get away with stuff, man. Looking for that advantage.
Yeah. Catherine Legg will be driving the number 78 Droplight Chevy Camaro this week in Phoenix for Live Fast Motorsports. This will be Catherine's debut in the NASCAR Cup Series. There's a little bit of controversy surrounding this, saying, people asking why she got approved in that, and it's her recent racing experience on high-speed ovals and all of that. I believe she was just in the ARCA race at Daytona. She's raced IndyCars. She made the Indy 500, I think it was last year. So she's got a lot of experience with high-speed vehicles and at high-speed tracks there.
Well, all she's got to do is just finish the laps. You can't expect much. 78 is kind of an underfunded car. Whatever. But what is there? 37 spots for 40 spaces. So she's going to make the race. So what? You got to start somewhere, man. So might as well start learning. So we haven't had a female racer since 2018 when Danica was in, where she ran the Daytona 500, and we haven't had a female since. So
yeah, that's correct. I knew it was 16, 17, or 18, one of them, but it's been a while.
It's been a long time. Yep. So good for her.
Amazon's whole home Wi-Fi product subsidiary Eero Connect, or Get Eero is what they're on social media, will be the primary sponsor for Josh Berry in the Wood Brothers 21 in 3 races this season, starting this weekend at Phoenix.
And we like how them cars coming out of the Wood Brothers. Them 21 cars are always sharp paint jobs on them.
Mm-hmm. I don't like to talk about this stuff, but it was big enough news to put this in. NASCAR has filed a counterclaim suit against 2311 Front Row Motorsports and 2311 co-owner Curtis Polk, alleging a conspiracy and agreement in unreasonable restraint of interstate trade and commerce, constituting a violation of Section 1 of the Sherman Act. In the filing today, NASCAR asked for an injunction eliminating guaranteed starting spots for charter teams if counterclaim defendants persist in seeking to have the charter agreements declared as unlawful under the antitrust laws. NASCAR attorney Chris Yates says NASCAR doesn't need to have charters, but NASCAR believes the 2025 charter agreement is equitable and fair. NASCAR reiterates that teams will get 49% of current media rights of the current media rights deal. Under the former deal, teams got 25% through purse and with promoters, and NASCAR's contributions to pool money, it was 38 to 40% during the years of the previous deal. So to kind of recap that, because there was a lot of legal jargon and all that in the press releases, basically, NASCAR alleges that the way Curtis Polk went about trying to organize the boycott during negotiations and other tactics, and the teams trying to sue for better contract terms, is a violation of the antitrust law. NASCAR is not asking for an immediate injunction as far as eliminating the guaranteed spots. That would all be part of the trial in December if it would get that far. I got to give a shout out to Bob Pockris. He was the one who kind of put that out there and said a lot of those things. And I know there was others too, but that last part specifically was more of him, for lack of a better term, dumbing it down for us. So I haven't liked to talk about the lawsuit because it sounds like we are getting further and further away from agreement, and there's these little bits and pieces that keep coming out. So let's just wait till the end. But there were some good facts in there and some good information, like why they're countersuing and what NASCAR teams will get for percentages of the current media rights deal and what they got in the past. So I thought I should include that in here.
Yeah, I saw the title on that, and I just skipped right over it, man. I just don't want to read the stuff. It'll all come out in the wash anyway, but it's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo between lawyers and stuff. So thanks for getting us up to date on that. But otherwise, I saw it and said I can go find something else to look at that's more interesting than that news story. Doesn't interest me anymore.
I normally agree with you, and that's why I haven't been covering it, but this had some information there that I thought was important. But moving away from that, here's where the penalties come in today, so a lot of news dropping. NASCAR has docked Austin Cindric 50 points and fined him $50,000 for turning Ty Dillon at Coda on the front stretch. NASCAR says no suspension for Cindric happened because the driver was traveling at a slower pace on the intermediate or on the road course versus an intermediate or super speedway. Dillon had no significant impact or damage, was able to drive on, and there was no caution. A one-race suspension did not feel appropriate. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin have both said publicly on the podcast, and Kyle Busch was asked about it on SiriusXM and stated that they both disagree because Kyle said intent is intent, and Denny Hamlin basically said on his podcast that a right hook is a right hook. So a little bit of controversy from that as well.
And I was shaking my head while you were talking there and saying that the inconsistency on that keeps going on. Cindric is probably lucky that they didn't get that. And you told me earlier that they didn't appeal that, so they probably take their lumps and move on. The 50,000 doesn't mean much, man, but they took them 50 points away, man. That hurts a lot. So, they'll feel that one for a while.
Yeah, and here's the rule that Cindric got penalized under. Bob Pockris has posted this from NASCAR Rulebook. Member actions that could result in a loss of 25 to 50 driver and or team owner points and or $50,000 to $100,000 fine. Violations may also result in a race suspension. Of course, we know that they didn't do that. Indefinite suspension or membership revocation. And these are the things that qualify for that. Physical confrontation with a NASCAR official, media members, fans, etc., attempting to manipulate the outcome of the race or championship, intentionally damaging or another vehicle on pit road, wrecking or spinning another vehicle, whether or not that vehicle is removed from competition as a result, any actions deemed to compromise the safety of an event or otherwise pose a dangerous risk to the safety of competitors, officials, spectators, or others. So that's the rule there. They chose to go on the lesser side of things. I shouldn't even say that. 50 driver points is significant. 50,000, but no race suspension. So a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but there's a split feeling on if there was going to be a suspension or not. There is not to Austin Cindric.
So Cindric definitely showed that he doesn't like being pushed outside, especially out of turn 20. I mean, it was really, he put him almost out into the weeds. But he drove in the rear end, and lucky that Ty Dillon didn't. he did some good car control and actually saved. I think Kyle Larson was right behind him, wasn't right in his lap, and he avoided it too. So it wasn't too much of an incident, but you definitely knew that Cindric was going to get pinched for this because it definitely looked blatant.
Yeah. And I understand the frustration. Ty did move him out quite a bit and didn't really leave him any racetrack. He went out into the grass, but you're playing that game where because you're thinking, okay, let's say NASCAR decides to suspend him. They grant the waiver, but it's not medical, so he loses all of his playoff points from here going forward. That was one thing that a lot of people didn't think about because of that new waiver rule. So that could potentially be a massive penalty.
Yeah, it sure could. So wouldn't it be nice if you could look back at turn 18 and 19 and see if there was even more to it, where maybe Cindric ticked Ty off, and so Dylan decides, hey, I'm going to do this to you here, So there's something like that could have started many turns before that, but we saw the final product. And anyway, enjoy that 50-point cut, man. Make you think twice about doing that again. But that's kind of hard to do in the heat of the moment, But you need a crew chief in your ear to try to say, dude, keep your level head. So anyway,
Yeah,
that's that incident.
they did say that they will not appeal the penalty, which because if you do appeal it and they go tougher, I mean, there's a risk there.
Yeah, for sure. So, have you seen his car this weekend? That throwback car.
Yeah, that's actually going to be for Darlington coming up. It's the Darlington throwback to Dale Earnhardt's rookie year in that blue-yellow 2 car, and it's fitting that Cindric is in the 2. So that's pretty cool, pretty special for me being a big Dale Earnhardt fan. Can't wait to see that thing at Darlington.
It's a Ford too, dude. So it should do rather well.
We'll see.
We'll see. Gotta get ready.
Yeah, right. Speaking of appeals, Joe Gibbs Racing and Chase Briscoe win their appeal to the penalty issued after the Daytona 500 for holes in the spoiler base being altered. His 100 points are restored and no suspension to James Small and no fine to the team. The panel said on why they overturned it was the panel believes that the elongation of some of the holes on the number 19 Cup car spoiler base is caused by the process of attaching that specific spoiler base to the rear deck and not modification of the single source part. The panel who overturned the penalty was Motorsports marketing executive Dixon Johnston, former Speed Channel president Hunter Nickel, and former South Boston Speedway GM Kathy Rice.
So now he's up to 15th in points instead of being 99 points out of 16th place. So so he fits up and just gets into the 15th place. So that's a shot in the arm, and we know how he runs at Phoenix, man. So maybe to get the 19 up and running and see where it goes from there. So yeah, we both agreed that there was no way probably that you're going to win the appeal unless it was absolutely something that was there. And hey, they proved it, and good for them.
They're saying it puts him 14 in a tie for 14th with 72 points there. That was a tough hole. He was on Sirius XM actually saying, I hope this is the biggest points day of my life, because if you think about it, you're never going to gain 100 points in a race there. So it literally was.
It would have to be a win or you're out. That's the way the whole rest of the season would have went for that team.
Also, talking about points, Cindric fell to 35th in the standings with 30 points, and he's 41 points out of 16th, which is the playoff cutoff. So Briscoe now inside of the playoffs, tied for 14th, and Cindric significantly out.
But Cindric's got 23 races to try to get it back. So there's still time. It's early. Yeah, pull something like that later in the season, man, it's going to be catastrophic.
Remember us talking about Chris Powell retiring as Las Vegas Motor Speedway executive or GM. after the race weekend in a couple weeks at Las Vegas. Las Vegas Motor Speedway did announce that Patrick Lindsay, who is the executive director of the PGA Tour event in Las Vegas since 2015, will be the new GM.
Okay, so there's some news there that I didn't know about there, buddy.
And then the last few things I got here is NASCAR. Remember we talked about IndyCar viewers. What was it? 1.4 million. NASCAR at COTA, the Cup Series, got 4.132 million viewers, up 25% from last year. So IndyCar 1.4, NASCAR at 4.132. I was surprised at the significant distance between the viewership for both of them.
So hey, last week we talked about, somewhere along the line they were going to cut the track off, and just didn't know where. Where were they going to cut across to make the track shorter? And they picked a good place, man. And that was that turn 6. That was there. It was a good passing zone. Boy, it made for better racing. They added 28 laps, and that way the fans get to see the cars go around in front of them 28 more times. So, wow, Austin put up a good show, man. My mom, I was watching with her. She goes, "I don't like road racing," and just after the Cup race at the end, I go, "What do you think about that?" She goes, "That was good," And road racing has come a long way, man, and Austin sure put out a good product.
We've seen some good finishes there. I know it's up for debate if they're going to return there. I tell you what, I've always enjoyed the COTA races. We've had some good finishes. I know with this new car, it's been okay on road courses, but COTA over the last few years has put out a pretty good race, and an awesome finish. I thought it did quite well, and I'd like to see it go back. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great, man. Who's got that turn 1 where you go up that hill and then you got to do a major left-hander, and it's crazy. And then they got to do something about the S's, and then in the middle of that race for the Cup race, there was questions that they weren't. There was no limits on the corner, which was strange that drivers didn't know about that. That was a head scratcher. Didn't know if that was in the drivers' meeting, but. They got to go back there, man. I really, really enjoy that racetrack. Almost good enough to go buy that on iRacing and go try that too. Started learning Chicago street course and found out how fun that is to get around that place. And so now Austin looks like that might be one that just might have to see if he can get around that place.
I am liking where you're going with that. Yeah, it would be a fun challenge. Last bit of news I got here is just remember that there is a primary tire this upcoming weekend for Cup and an option softer tire. During practice, you can have one harder set and one softer set, so one primary, one option. Qualifying, you get one primary, and the race, you get 6 primary, 2 option, and of course the qualifying carryover primary set. There is no requirement to use the option tire, so you do have some strategy that could come into play.
And we seen that last year when we were doing this, and how that the other tire had better performance to it, big time, but it didn't last long. Apparently, there was a lot of unknowns on how long the tires are going to last. So we're going to have to watch and deal with that again this year.
And speaking of tire wear, I know we're going to talk about COTA here a little bit, but I think that's part of what made it a good race too, is that tire fell off.
And we've always seen that. No matter what, man, when you get fall off, it goes back into the driver's hands, and that makes for good racing.
Yep. All right, let's do a quick recap of IndyCar and COTA here. So IndyCar was out at St. Pete there. Unfortunately, on lap 1, there was an incident. They checked up in turn 3, and Will Power got into Nolan Siegel there. They wrecked and collected rookie Foster there. So an incident on lap 1.
It seems like if you can survive lap 1, and then all of a sudden it'll go and be strung out after that. But there's always action on that first turn there. So unfortunate. It sure looked like Will Power. That was blatant, and but you're right. There was a checkup there, and he didn't see it in time, and little contact makes a lot of danger there.
Oh yeah, and it's a tight course, so there's not much room to try to maneuver around it. Alex Palou, the defending champion, won the race. He beat Dixon out of the pits there to take the lead. Dixon finished second, but he had no radio, which is just incredible that he was able to finish the race like that. But unfortunately, it's also his fifth second place finish at St. Pete, which is unfathomable. Newgarden finished third there. Dixon did get by Newgarden on the final lap.
On the final lap, yeah, Newgarden was really all over Palou, and but yeah, Dixon got him on the last lap and got second place. So, boy, they really buzz around that place, man. Fast race, 100 laps goes really quick there, man. So, but it was entertaining. It was worth watching.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see IndyCar back. Newgarden, I think he actually ran out of fuel on the last corner there and had to coast to the finish, but still was able to finish third. Scott McLaughlin, we just talked about him signing that new contract. He was on the pole for the race. He ended up fourth. That first lap incident was very crucial because they do have different tire compounds in IndyCar. So the people that started on the soft set knew they weren't going to last as long, but you have to use at least one of each set. They came down under that caution pit, put on the harder tire, whereas you knew McLaughlin and others that started on the primary harder tire were going to have to come back in and put the softer set on at one point. So the strategy got mixed up early on lap one there.
So, yeah, that first lap just blew everybody. Yeah, they stayed out and everybody else came in, and just unfortunate. Do different what the leaders are doing. So, because it's either track position or pits. So there's strategy there.
Oh yeah. So McLaughlin was fourth there. Kyle Kirkwood, who was great in practice, didn't show it in qualifying. He ended up fifth there. Erickson was sixth. Rosenquist ended up seventh. He ran up front a bunch with his teammate Marcus Armstrong, but Armstrong had a toe link issue, so he fell behind. Christian Lundgaard was eighth for McLaren. Rinus VeeKay, who just signed with Dale Coyne, he finished ninth, and Alexander Rossi finished out the top 10 for Ed Carpenter. Pato O'Ward, who is one of my favorites to watch as well, he had an uphill battle all day, but he did battle up to 11th place, but he fell way back. He had an uphill climb, and he was lucky to get back up to 11th.
So, yeah, so Alex Palou, sharp-looking yellow and red race car, man, looked fast and did a good job, man. He led every lap, didn't he? Yeah, I think he led every lap. So, no, that's not true. No, that's not true because McLaughlin was on the pole. Duh. So, but sure, at the end, it sure looked like he was the dominant one for the race.
Yeah, he led a bunch at the end there. IndyCar puts on a good show at St. Pete there. It was just awesome to watch there. And thinking about Alex Palou, the defending champion, has a couple of championships under his belt. What does he have? 3 now? And he wins the first race of the season. Should the competition already be worried that Alex Palou has got his stuff together and goes out and has a good performance at St. Pete first race?
Why not, man? Yep, he's setting the bar high early. So there it is.
Moving on to the Xfinity Series at COTA real quickly. Early on, Carson Hocevar and Jeb Burton made some contact. Hocevar went into the barriers. That ended up ending his day there. Hocevar, we were just talking about him last week being all aggressive at Atlanta and all that, and gets in the Xfinity car and ends up going out early.
Yeah, and it buried it right into the wall, and that was into the tire barrier, and that ended his day right there.
Sanchez, Quapple, Creed all spin while in the top 10. Eckes would get damage out of that. Then Legeisman stopped on the front stretch with 3 to go on the stage, which was interesting because some had already pit. Zilich was coming to pit road as this was happening, but didn't make it. He still did pit, so he had to start from the rear, but Byron won the first stage.
And that really sucked, man, because then they were under caution in the last few laps, and then they went into the stage, and then it took them 5 laps to get it going. And just like, what happened to this race? It went into a big lull for about 20 minutes, but then they got it back up and going. So for the second stage.
Yeah. Jeremy Clements would spin and go into the barriers. Then Sam Mayer would go around. Zilich and Allgaier also get together, with Allgaier getting some damage. he would have to pit a lap or two earlier and then came back for a second time for a loose wheel.
Yeah, it was smoking so bad, man. He had to come in, yeah, and then he comes back in and he had a loose tire, and his day was practically destroyed right there.
Harrison Burton would win the second stage.
Well, everybody's doing pit strategy there and everything. He was kind of like a mid runner at the time, so he stayed out and grabbed the stage win.
Going on to the final stage here, Zilich runs himself and teammate Quapple wide, then got into Heim, and Heim would go around. Zilich gets some right front damage from that. Meanwhile, Hill would shoot to the lead.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, we didn't talk about Zilich when he came in earlier in the race and he pitted too early. You know, he tried to jump into the pits and the yellow light came on and he ended up getting sent all the way to the back. And we seen some talent of that 88 car, man. And he came all the way back through to be relevant at the end. Unreal.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit there, but not at length there. When Legeisman stopped on the front stretch in that first stage there. But Hill would eventually slide wide, and Quapple would take the lead for a few laps before Zilich came all the way back to the front. Quapple didn't let Zilich get away, though. He was pressuring him for a little bit until his right front tire went down.
You know, want to run by him, yeah, but all of a sudden the right front went, and then that was the end of it. But wow, he showed something there that he can get around a road course, so that was very impressive.
Zilich would go on and win the race over Byron, Mayer, Hill, Eckes, Love, Taylor Gray, Chastain, Sawalich, and Perkins. Man, I tell you what, there's some beef also between Bilicki and Chris Wright. Remember, Wright hit Bilicki on pit road in that Daytona pit road incident when Chris Wright had an issue or got pushed down below the line there. And apparently they got together again at COTA, and there's been some words on social media between the two.
On social media, yes, they're arrogant out there, man. So, yeah, it's out there. You can see that one.
How about this? Quapple got the fastest lap of the race. It was 99.728 seconds or 86.636 miles per hour. So he picked up that extra point.
Yep. So with Zilich beating Byron, man, that's a feat. That's a good deal, man, and come all the way through and pull that out. Yeah, then he was in the Cup race for the first race, and we were just kind of like, well, now what are you going to do with this, you know? And seems like that kid, wherever he goes, man, he wins, and there's going to be a lot more opportunities for him later here, for sure, man.
Absolutely. Going to the Cup Series race then, Bubba Wallace got a bad start in the beginning there. He was on the front row right off the start there, but got a bad start. He almost got turned by kind of trying to keep Hocevar behind him, and then Chastain got up into Elliott and spun him in that first corner. And, you know, the thing that I thought about right away was Chastain was just unhappy with Hocevar last week for not helping or being a little aggressive, and then the first corner, unfortunately, Chastain got together with Elliott.
There was a different view last night when I was talking to you on the phone. When you look at the in-car camera of Chastain as he's driving up the 5 cars right on his right front, and you don't see Elliott there that's in front. And also when he cleared the 5 car, it was just definitely obvious that he was going to pile drive the 9. And, you know, he caught Elliott's back rear tire. Lucky it didn't break that suspension back there worse than it did. It bent the toe link a little bit later on. Elliott got it fixed. And there was some good communication that was going on there about payback and stuff like that through the crew chief.
Well, yeah. You know, Zilich and Hamlin also got damage and have issues there early. And then the incident that we were talking about with the penalty earlier, Ty Dillon went into the front stretch wall, spins around, no caution for this. But of course, we talked about it. Cindric wasn't happy with Dillon, kind of retaliated off to the corner.
Yep, so that was quite obvious, and yep, and it cost him a fine. So yep, we talked about that earlier.
Zane Smith got some damage from it too, unfortunately. Bubba Wallace would stay out on some strategy, win the stage. But obviously he was going to lose the track's position there. He lost a little bit track's position actually before that because he had to do the Joker corner, the Joker lap, as they were calling it, for exceeding track limits there. Logano also stayed out with him and had a good finish in the stage.
Hey, that sidebar, yeah, the what do they call it? The pit, where you got to take your penalty, but you don't really. I think you're supposed to stop. I think that one time Hamlin didn't really look like he stopped, but that sure is a lot better than having him go down and do a drive-through through the pits. Because by the time you come back out, that would be such a devastating penalty. I mean, it's bad enough that you cut it like that. So interesting little lane there that they were serving their penalty, and I thought that was a good move.
Yeah, I do too. I like the Joker lap or the Joker corner that they call it. They use that in other forms of racing, like the I forget what they call it. I don't know if it's in Travis Pastrana's deal or not, but it's like you have to use the longer course on one lap, and then the they call it the Joker lap at that point. So it was something similar to that.
Yeah, Larry Mack explained it earlier, right before the race, how you had to serve the penalty. And okay, and we'll figure this out. And it didn't take long before we seen some guys that actually had to use that lane.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Larson and Hamlin had to do it in the second stage pretty early. And then unfortunately for Kyle Larson, he would lose a tire after a pit stop. So some more penalties coming down. He'll lose a couple of crew members and was assessed that 2-lap penalty.
And he sure is having a struggle. He's on the struggle bus to start this season, man. So Larson's had his struggles so far to start out 2025.
Yeah. Ryan Preece would win the stage.
Yeah, that's a strange number right there. But, there's a lot of these guys that come in, 2 laps before the pits are closed. And one thing that we were seeing, like Kyle Busch, holy smokes, dude, he led the most laps all day. And Kyle Busch looked like he was the dude. I mean, he even came up, and passed SVG and everything. And it looked like he had the car. He had the car to beat there after stage 2.
Yeah, I agree. Suarez would unfortunately spin and collect Zilich. That was a tough hit there. Bowman had a penalty for track limits at about the same time there, but Suarez just lost it, and Zilich had nowhere to go. He went one way and couldn't see, and Dawson there was Suarez sitting in his lap.
And he just absolutely gave him a left hook, and he clobbered him and then went into the the barrier that was there. And they actually had to pull that out a little bit, and straighten a wall out there like that. And unfortunate, both done for the day.
Yeah. Bowman would again a little later get another penalty for track limits, so he was struggling with that. And then Hamlin loses it and wipes out Austin Dillon. Dillon got stuck into the gravel pit there. That was a caution with 17 to go. And Hamlin just said he didn't realize there was dirt on the track, and as soon as he hit the brakes, it was game over.
And here's Dillon just minding his own business and just got smeared out and got thrown right into the kitty litter. Yeah. And then when he come back out on the track, he's just dumping stones everywhere. So, yeah, that was quite the incident there.
Yeah. SVG, you thought might be in the catbird seat here because he had the best tires because that came out during the pit strategy and he was the last to pit there. But some did also pit under this caution, but they would have to be 21st on back. But some did get pretty close to the front after that.
It sure did, man. But yeah, he stayed out that long part, so did Bell. Bell stayed a couple laps, but SVG stayed out later. And when he started 6th, I thought, watch this, but once when he got into that turn 1 and everybody gets all together, and if you don't there's until you get off of that corner, he lost like 5 positions, through there. Just where you are and how everybody is located. That's just such a unique corner that goes in there. And unfortunately, we didn't see as much slamming and banging in that corner as years past. It seemed like a lot of guys watched their P's and Q's there. But, I thought SVG was going to be the man right there.
Yeah, and then a little bit after that, teammates get together, Briscoe and Gibbs. Gibbs spins and hits the wall. That slowed a bunch of others down, but it stayed caution-free there. Larson would also spin, but eventually get going. That would have been interesting if a caution came out there when Larson went around.
And just talking about Gibbs, isn't he like 35th in points? I mean, just a horrible, horrible start for Ty Gibbs this 25 season.
Must be 34th now with the Cindric penalty.
They're probably together. He's running that bad. To take the 50 away from Cindric, and he would still probably be ahead of him because Gibbs has not had any good finishes yet this year.
Christopher Bell would get by Kyle Busch late, but had to hold off Byron and Reddick. He would do that. He would go on and win the race over Byron, Reddick, Elliott, Busch, SVG, Buescher, Gragson, Bowman, and Gilliland. You look at that top Elliott coming all the way back from when he did. He was one who pit on that last caution with 17 to go. Bowman with the 2 penalties, rebounding from that. You have Chris Buescher, who seems like he's always in the top 10 at road courses. Gragson, Gilliland, some good racing. And the most impressive part, you and I have talked over this on the podcast, where IndyCar is kind of refreshing because there's no green-white checkered. If the caution comes out late, it's over. That was refreshing to watch from the Cup Series, to see them race clean and hard at the front. That was awesome.
To 24, Byron, he could have dumped them if he wanted to, and realizes, try to race it out instead of trying to bully your way to the front. But hey, there was a 4-car race there, and you could just see Kyle just used up his car. Kyle Busch used the car up and everything like that. And Elliott, he was coming through, and he got a courtesy from Chastain to absolutely park to the side and let him by. Probably maybe a smart move. I don't know if Elliott was still mad through there, but for him to pop a top 4, unbelievable. But hey, at the time, Gragson was running 5th, and even Boyer said, like, where did he come from? And what a run from him. So all in all, really good race, man. There was some tight racing, that one. Bell almost got into Busch over there in turn 1. Remember last year he T-boned him out of the way, and Kyle got into his face and told him about it. And when you looked a little closer, that was close to what you thought. The 20 just barely missed the 8 and missed Busch. And Byron was right there, but boy, Bell regrouped it, man, and he had them 2 lap fresher tires, and he made it work, man. So, boy, that Christopher Bell is something else. 2 wins on the year already.
Yeah, and going to Phoenix, where he's the defending winner there. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more, is the Bell Busch thing, because you just mentioned it. There was history there, and I was tensed up during that end of the race because I thought, if Bell gets into him again, because when Kyle got in his face last year and said, I must have a lot more respect for you than you do me because you spun me out twice. Have I ever spun you out? And he goes, no. And I got to give a lot of credit to Christopher Bell there. He didn't shy away. He stood there, took it like a professional should, did all that. But if Bell would have got into him there, and that one was super close. And Busch even said he was kind of racing like a butthead. That's his words. He said last year Bell raced like a butthead. This year I did. Just an amazing finish, especially up front.
It was all the way good, man. When that race was over, so the fans got their money's worth out of that one. Best road course race I've seen in a long time. That was a good one.
Yeah. Also, there was some concern for Brad Keselowski at the end of the race. His cool suit failed, and also his power steering. He stopped at the end of pit road after the end of the race, didn't even do a cool down lap, and said, get the EMTs over to me. And he went to the medical center and was later released, and seems to be doing a little bit better. But some very, very concerning moments there. And he still finished 15th, man. 15th after all that. And they asked him, like, do you want to come out? They asked him multiple times what he wanted to do. He said, nope, I'm not stopping. And I tell you what, that was very impressive, but thankful that he's okay as well.
TJ Majors said that it started already on the pace lap, that they knew that they had an issue. That's when all of a sudden it started. So he ran that whole race without that cool suit not working and blowing hot air on him, so
boiling
Unreal.
water going through you.
Well, there's water going through her also. So, yeah, you cook yourself, man. And it was like low 80s there and a little bit of humidity. And yeah, seen him on a stretcher, man. They wheeled him in there, but apparently they've got get some fluids in him, and everything, and he coming around really fast. But that's gotta be a terrible feeling.
He turned so hard left that the thing almost spun out. He turned left and slammed on the brakes where the car did one of these, and he knew he was in trouble. Like, I need to get out of this thing now, because this has been a talk about the Gen 7, I guess we're calling it now. It's still next gen, even though we've been racing it for 2 or 3 years. That the air movement in the car is not great. So to have boiling water on you and then to have no air movement, and he did take an ice pack, but I'm sure that did little to nothing. They asked him if they wanted to drain it and it would be an issue. He'd have to deal with it, and he said no, so he had to go a long way to do that, and that was very impressive, but again, concerning too.
Amazing what adrenaline will do to you, right? Until all of a sudden the race is over, and then all of a sudden now we got then it comes to reality. So good to see he's all right, man. Scary stuff like that. That could really be a bad deal there.
Absolutely. And but the flip side, since everything was okay, if you're a driver for his team, since he's an owner and says, my owner is willing to do this, I mean, that has to make you raise the bar a little bit as well.
Yeah, so for sure. And he ain't no spring chicken either, man. He's been around, so good to see he's all right, man.
Yeah. The fastest lap went to Kyle Larson, 99.244 seconds, or 87.058 miles per hour.
That was after the tire fell off. So it was like 8 laps to go, and he popped that lap, so he gets a point for that.
Well, I'm sure the new tire's going on, and he was probably a little ticked off that he was dealing with that.
He had a tough day all the way around.
Oh yeah. Well, man, let's talk about Phoenix coming up here. Now let's make our picks and end this thing. The defending winner is Chandler Smith. Let's take a look at our picks as I'm moving around here. I get to go first. And this one was tough, I'll tell you that. But I saw this guy. He's from the area. He has won out there before. He runs well. I'm going to take Alex Bowman.
That's a good pick, yeah, because he's going to be in that 17 vehicle. And yeah, that's a good pick. Hey, I'm going to take somebody that's run good out there for many years, too. And he's stepping down into the Xfinity Series, and we're going to give you a dose of we'll give you some Almirola in a Gibbs car in the 19 car. Eric
Sure.
Almirola.
And I misspoke there. Actually, you were supposed to go first, but we made our picks prior to this, so we're all good there. I get to go first in the Cup Series there. I'm going to take – I debated on what to do here. We just talked about Christopher Bell being the defending winner. He's hot right now. He's going into – we just heard Ty talk about going into a good part of his season. You could see Christopher Bell. It would not be out of the realm of possibility to see him go back-to-back at Phoenix. Las Vegas, I think he's won there as well. Homestead, Miami, he runs well. Martinsville, he's got a really good track record of tracks coming up here. But I decided to go with Ryan Blaney. What I saw last year and his track record at Phoenix as well, I had to take Blaney. I don't like doing it this early necessarily, but I had to take him.
And you, with everything that you said with Christopher Bell, and he's hot, defending champion, I got to take him, dude. So I'll take the 20 cars. Maybe you'll get 3 wins out of 4, huh? That would be a hell of a start of a season, huh?
That would be incredible. But again, not out of the realm of possibility the way he's running for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. So the TV schedule looks like this for Phoenix coming up here. This will be Central Time on Friday, 3:30 ARCA practice and qualifying. 7 o'clock on FS1, the ARCA race will get going, 150 laps there. It'll be in the 50s. 55% chance of moisture during the day, 20% chance at night. So Friday could be iffy. Saturday then, 10:30 on the CW app, Xfinity practice and qualifying. 1 o'clock on Amazon Prime Video, Cup practice and qualifying. Then back to the CW at 3:30 with NASCAR Countdown. And 4 o'clock on the CW, the Xfinity race gets going. Stages of 45, 45, and 110. It'll be in the 60s with 0% chance of moisture. On Sunday, 1 o'clock on FS1, we're going to go into a stretch here that will be on FS1 now. NASCAR race day gets going at 1, and then 2:30 also on FS1. Cup race gets going. Stages of 60, 125, and 127 in the 70s with 0% chance.
Perfect. Sounds like a great weekend. Yeah, that rain on Friday sounds more early in the day. So we'll see where it stands on Friday night for the ARCA race. The Saturday, that Xfinity race, that's only a 200 lapper, dude. That goes really fast. And so they got to be very aggressive there. We know how that goes there with Phoenix. And then, the Cup race. And we'll root on Catherine Legg, man, and we'll see if she can finish every lap. How's that sound?
Absolutely. It'd be nice to see a woman into the sport and with a lower funded team and do well. That would certainly be good. And just always hope for safe races. Don't like to see wrecks, cautions. Hope it's a great weekend out in Phoenix. I know that's on our list to eventually get out to. We'll see what happens when championship time rolls around or in the future where that goes. But thanks, Mark, to you. Thanks to the Corp Racing, Tim. Appreciate it. Ben and Curie with Valley Gasket. Yep, we got our cups here that we're always sipping on, so we appreciate it so much. Thanks to Ty Majeski for being our guest again this week. Got some exciting stuff coming up for the next few weeks here. We're really going to get into it, so this is awesome. Thanks, everyone, for your support, and hey, man, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you about racing this weekend. See ya.
See ya.
This has been a production of Lore Sports. Hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.